make money on
cultural Marxist. He called you a
Like,
cultural Marxist.
Cultural Marxist is a protected. Communist detected American soil.
I've got 12 degrees to
Oh
Jefferson.
yeah, the fucking robot from Fallout. Oh my god, I love that.
I was a
Communist
Lord as a kid.
presence
I have to
detected
admit,
on
guys.
American soil. Force authorized.
Alright,
I have to admit,
guys,
I'm
I'm
not gonna
live.
lie, I sided
Guys,
with the Institute.
everyone shut up. I'm live streaming right now. Alright?
I sided with the Institute. Let everyone on the stream know that.
Okay. Well, they all know that now, so that means you shut up. Alright?
Okay.
Now you're gonna be quiet, cause, alright, here goes the stream. So it's 12 a.m. Person, introduce yourself. What's up?
Lee, what's up? Extraterrestrial Banjo here, reppin' America, yo. Haha, I gotta make like a rap intro. That's
So,
what all those darn kids these days are listening to.
so what are your political views? You could just
I
say
don't
it.
know.
You could just...
Fascist.
Yeah, you're a fascist. Okay. I just don't see the point in ultranationalism or why dying for your country would be something desirable.
See, you can't look at, you're looking at it not from an emotional, you gotta look at, alright, let me explain this. You gotta look at it more from an emotional standpoint. You gotta, fighting for your people gives purpose to many people in life. And a purposeful life is ultimately what we all want. You see, you all want to be a part of something bigger. And that would be America as a whole, a nation. And if you have a unified people, everyone is happy.
Under every fascist dictatorship that's ever existed, it's just ended up as a suicide cult. Mussolini took...
That's a good point.
Yeah, Mussolini was killed by his own people, and Hitler killed himself after, you know, he was betrayed by, like, half of his fucking people, you know?
Himmler betrayed him, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But you see,
Go on.
alright, what else questions you got?
I mean, do you not have a response to that?
What?
Besides, that's a good
For what?
point. So, like,
Why it becomes a suit?
yeah, why should somebody believe in ultranationalism when it always ends horribly? I mean, even if it didn't end horribly, just to steelman my position, unifying under a flag doesn't mean much. You could unify under a political ideology without it being connected to a nation state. For example, I don't know,
Right.
even if you were far right, you could still just be, like, people like ANCAPs, they could just be ANCAPs regardless of whether they're part of a nation state or not. They're just stupid, but they're all connected together.
I guess, but the identity but like, it means more. You know, you're born into it, you serve your nation, and ultimately, that leads to the betterment of it for the future generations.
I mean,
Protect your nation.
not really, because when you base your identity off of a nation, another thing that it does is divide who's allowed in the nation or not. For example, fascists tend to believe that certain races, even if they're born in a particular nation, do not belong to that nation because it's not within their right. That's where white nationalism comes from. So,
Right.
fascism is much more dividing than it brings people together. How'd you become a fascist?
I looked at 4chan when I was a boy.
Hmm.
Let's see. So when I was like a younger guy, I was very cringy ANCAP. I admit it. Shoot your jokes now.
No, that's cute.
I know, I'm joking.
The ANCAP to Nazi pipeline.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
It definitely exists. I believe it. the libertarian pipeline. A lot of people have written about that. Basically, libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism is a very selfish ideology. You know what I mean? You're only caring about oneself.
I know.
and profits, and you're putting that above your people and everything else, and it leads to very bad conditions, and it will destroy the globe.
Yeah, well, I'm not
Because-
an ANCAP, so...
Yeah, exactly. And anarcho-capitalism is bad.
I'm...
So
Are you familiar with the study of epistemology?
I am not.
So epistemology is the study of how people get their political beliefs or their philosophical beliefs. And right now what I'm trying to do is just pick apart why you believe in fascism. 4chan has a lot of Nazis on there, but what did they say to convince you to be a Nazi?
I come from a very traditional long line of family, alright?
Okay.
Very long line. I'm related to SS officers and actual Confederates. Those are, you know, like, my ancestors are. I've always been very obsessed with one's bloodline. If that makes any sense. Like, family, I've always been very loyal to my family. And it's kinda, and I think of a nation as a big family. Now,
Well, most people in the United States, well, we're a very diverse country, so I doubt that we all come from the same bloodlines.
right.
Now, you having an interest in your ancestry is not necessarily a justification for forming political beliefs. Just because I'm fascinated with fascism, and yes, I am fascinated with totalitarian governments, doesn't mean that I simp for them or enjoy them in the slightest. I mean, I'm an anarchist, but I'm not here to argue for anarchism. I'm just here to argue for internationalism, or, as you would say, globalism.
Yeah, so I like to globe. Well,
You
kind of all started
Mhm.
when I really got into very much conservatism. I got denied from a school because of affirmative action. That kind of made me very mad.
Mm. How do
And
you?
one of my buddies got a false rape allegation against him. And those were kind of two big factors that happened in
Dude,
my life.
I get false, like, sexual harassment allegations against me all the time. Have you ever heard of a guy named Vosh?
Yeah, dude, I don't like Vosh.
Yeah,
Of
he's...
course.
I know he's a bit fat, but, like, he's always getting shit against him that he didn't do. It's very common for the left to be infested with, you know, borderline reactionary shit, but a lot of the stuff actually stems from tankies. When you really look back at who's doing the majority of, like, the cancellations and that horrible toxic culture where they purity test people, and, like, ANCOMs do it too, like, no doubt. They're usually kids, but the majority comes from the authoritarians.
Right. Tankies are bad.
Of course, but but they're nationalists and authoritarians, and
They're nationalists?
I don't really see what's different between... See, when I criticize tankies, I usually compare them to Nazis, and I say, well, what's so different about them? Well, if you hate tankies, what makes you different from one? You're both nationalist, and you're both, you both have that same idea of roots. What tankies do is they reference Marx and scientific socialism and use arguments from Marx's writing.
Values and tradition.
Yes.
That's what separates me.
But, see, the thing is, they also use values and traditions. They constantly read the same book, and whenever you try to add any nuance to their ideas,
Right.
they say the same thing.
But it's like fake values, you know what I mean? Like,
Well-
they invent like a state religion, sort of.
Well, they have
Like,
state
yeah,
atheism.
they're having-
They have state atheism. But, whatever.
Right.
I know
It's
what you
bad.
mean.
Alright. Another thing, I've always been very obsessed with Rome, like the Roman Empire, and that's really kind of what I'm not really basing my stuff off of Nazi Germany or anything. Roman Empire, that's what I really like.
Didn't they, like, fuck boys inside the Roman Empire or something?
Occasionally, yeah. But it was
Yeah.
illegal.
See, here's the thing. You could admire a particular area, but none of this has really told me why you believe in it. I mean, I come from my whole line of ancestry, I come from a very conservative background, too. On my dad's side. On my mom's side, it's Jewish. Go ahead. Laugh.
Alright.
I didn't laugh at any of your shit, but, like, whatever, I don't really care. Anyway, so,
As long as you're not a Zionist, I'm fine.
Oh, no, I'm not a Zionist.
Oh, cool. Then we're good.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about Israel and stuff, because I don't want to get my account yeeted, but whatever. Anyway,
Alright.
I'm just trying to see, I don't see any logical conclusion to, fascism, and I don't expect one.
Alright. So basically, you gotta unite the people culturally. I think the world was better a while ago.
How so?
Traditions, lower crime rates.
Actually, we have lower crime rates now than we ever have before. Especially, did you know that kids even, like, have lower crime rates? And they're much more educated than they were before?
Right, education for all. Big fan of that. You know, again, not an ANCAP.
I know. So, but
What?
Hitler didn't... I don't know if you like Hitler, but he didn't believe in education for all. I mean, he just believed in... Or healthcare for all. He believed in healthcare and education only for white Aryan people.
Right, I don't agree with that. Alright. I also am not a fan of degeneracy, you see. And by that, I mean, I think people should stick to tradition, and I think a lot of people are brainwashed by sort of a globalism and more of a trendy edition.
I feel like this is a dog whistle for Do you dislike Jews?
I dislike Zionists, and I know it's also kind of a dog whistle, but I don't dislike Jewish people.
But do you believe that there's an international coalition of Jews that are poisoning the well for, like, discussions and, you know, pushing for pseudo-leftist ideologies that actually cause society to regress?
Honestly, I think it could be possible. And don't make fun of me, but
I'm not making fun of you.
I'm open to the idea.
Well, here's
and I've investigated Jewish Muslims. I've read up. I mean, I'm not one for conspiracy theories,
but
I
what?
think, like, if you look at him, and Weimar Germany, there was Jews, and they promoted a lot of similar things they promote today.
Like, what are you talking? You're talking very vague.
LGBT.
Okay.
LGBT.
Do you want?
Alright.
You could just go all out. Listen,
Alright.
I'm not gonna ban you or anything. Like, you can continue this conversation. I've debated much worse than you. Come on.
Alright, cool.
It's okay.
Alright.
You can let it out.
Alright, I think homosexuality is a social illness that is plaguing society and making men less masculine, which leads to a weaker state. However, I don't think that natural homosexuality is possible and is only caused by the environment.
Okay. So, I feel like this... originally, the conversation was about nationalism.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, I think it's a lot of degeneracy, such as women who, like OnlyFans. I don't like that. I have a very strong idea of masculine. That is my big thing.
How tall are you?
Biggest thing. 6'2".
6'2". Okay. No, I'm just that's just a litmus test, right? I'm just making sure. Anyway, so, I feel like we can't actually continue the discussion of nationalism before getting to that claim that, like, the gay people, like, homosexuality is unnatural. in the Roman Empire, I already said that they fucked boys. If you want to go back to culture, then you probably want to go back to that.
It was similar. Yes, I know.
So, you should be so you should be okay with homosexuality, and not only homosexuality but pedophilia, by your logic.
No, that's more Greece.
It's hold on. The Romans did it. Like, they fucked boys a lot. A lot. What time period are you trying to return to? Because
Alright, you have the Lex Scantinia. I read about this earlier. It was a law against molestation of young boys.
what are you talking about? I mean, we have laws against molesting young boys here, but when, like, Pope, what is it? When the Catholic Church still does it, it doesn't really matter, right? You're trying to return... You're arguing from law when we're talking about culture. So, what kind of culture?
Laws are influenced by culture.
No, laws are influenced by a very small group of people that are in charge of a state, not by culture. So
they're elected by people.
You want to return to a particular culture. In that culture, people fucked boys. Which, I don't think that people should be having sex with children. I think that's wrong.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So, I'm just wondering, in this culture, which you support, you say that you like the Romans, why do you like them so much if they fuck little kids?
Later, you see.
It doesn't really matter if it was later. It still it kind of happened a little bit throughout the entire history of the Roman Empire. It only went away, actually, like, very recently.
Alright. Continue on. Please crush my dreams out. Alright, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Keep going.
So you could be interested in something. I don't think that there's any evidence that Jewish groups are promoting homosexuality or that cultural Marxism is changing the DSM to include homosexuality as not a mental illness. Because let me pose something at you. Every single animal that exists. Do you have a dog? No? Yes?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Does it ever hump other dogs? Like other boy dogs? Or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, like dogs are fucking gay as fuck. Like some animals are gay too. Like even monkeys like had fucking sex with other men. It's being gay has been in for the entirety of human culture. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it, like, good. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm not trying to argue, since it's been around forever, that it's good. I think it's neutral. But you're trying to say that it's been pushed on to people in the modern day, and that makes it bad. But that's just simply not true.
Allow me to explain. Difference between gay and homophilia. Homophilia is the natural attraction. Gay is the more cultural side. If that makes any sense. Like, sort of the...
Marriage is a cultural thing.
Yes, I do not support gay marriage.
No, wait, but you support straight marriage.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. So why... Okay, so what's wrong with gay marriage versus straight marriage?
It's more of a promotion of that culture. Homosexuality shouldn't be glorified.
Why?
Alright.
Like, what's...
Being gay is a shock to the environment.
How so?
Because, alright, so let's see.
If you're gonna try to use the birth rate argument, there's no evidence suggesting that homosexuality in a society lowers the birth rate. Actually, it provides a shelter for children up for adoption when they otherwise wouldn't be able to have it. I've talked to a lot of fascists that try to argue this, and this is usually the path they go down. Are you reading something right now, or are you just getting this out of your head?
I'm kind of going from my head.
Okay. You could take your time. It's all right.
All right.
Mish. See here? Mish?
Yo.
Mish, how many N-words do we have in the chat?
Quite a few. All right. Well, I can make some, but I think that gets you banned. I think if you say the N-word, bring it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna, if you do say the N-word, unfortunately, I would have to ban you from the server and, like, end the stream.
I know. They don't like, but like actually don't say it because you can get like banned.
I'm not gonna.
Discord. No, I'm trying to say like Discord will like delete your account if you say it enough.
If you, yeah, pretty sure that's true.
Know.
Yeah, so, like, I don't see what's wrong with homosexual. I don't.
I think we need to have. Alright, you keep going.
I don't see what's wrong with homosexuality. As somebody who's actually explored, you know, this idea of cultural Marxism before, I say, like, from my research, there's no evidence for it. It's just bullshit. It's just Nazi conspiracies.
How about we think about alright, homophilia is possible, but gay culture is I think degenerate. I think it promotes degenerate values and less masculine men. I think men should be firmly rooted in masculinity.
Well, I don't really see why what you think is acceptable culture should really matter if what people are doing is consensual and happy. I mean, right now we're arguing about gay sex. I mean, seriously? Do you not think that I haven't argued this like a bunch of times? You're not gonna really...
Oh, yeah.
You're not gonna be able to come up with a good reason why gay sex is degenerate besides the fact that it grosses you out. It's 2021. Am I gonna sit here and argue like that gay people should be able to touch wee-wees together?
Alright, you wanna move on to something else?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What would you like to move on to?
I don't know. Are you an anti-vaxxer?
I got like what do you mean, like anti-COVID or like anti-normal?
Do you believe? Are you taking the corona vaccine?
Pretty young, so I don't think it could really. I mean, like I don't think I could get the virus and it'd be deadly, and I heard there's a lot of bad side effects. So I'll get it when it's like more ironed out. You see?
I disagree. Well, I think you should get it now. And the reason for that is, any side effects that you could find about it greatly are outweighed by the positives. You'll be safe, and you won't even have to wear a mask in public anymore. So that's cool. You could drop your little skull mask with the
Get a little like with the C's mask, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have one of those?
I don't. Those are a LARPer thing for sure. Those are just edgy kids that. Oh my god, I'm racist, you know.
I honestly don't think that you're a bad person. I just think that you've picked up these really shitty beliefs. None of which you've said is really coherent, and it all has to do with emotion. You've said that, yeah. Listen, I was very similar to you when I was your age. When I was 17, this is the kind of shit that I believed in, too. I used to be a Holocaust denier. It was a pretty dark time in my life. I don't mean to be, like, weird or anything, but how are things in your personal life? Are you happy?
Feel happy.
Because I know that a lot of not even fascists, but anyone that's part of an extremist ideology, they tend to, have issues with their families, and I'm not saying that as an insult. Like, I'm genuinely curious to see if everything's alright.
I have a supportive family.
Okay, that's very
My
good.
parents put together. You know, I don't
Are
have divorce
they-
parents.
Are they fascists?
No.
Do they know that you are?
I debate them sometimes. They don't really care. There's, you know, kind of typical Trump conservatives, yeah.
I would imagine that it's it's not very stressful debate. I mean, fascists and Trumpists are very intertwined in the same politics. So we were talking about Corona. I kind of went off track. When the leftist goes off track, it's funny. So, yeah, I think you should get the vaccine when you can. It's a good thing. I was just thinking that you'd be like, they're putting microchips in the vaccine. Like, yeah, no. Alright, I don't think you're that far down, like, the rabbit hole. I mean, you are into conspiracies, but not in those kind. Even the Nazis are getting somewhat rational about the virus and, like, vaccines and shit.
Yeah, I mean, won't save the nation as a whole,
Back to you want I don't really want to talk about nationalism again. I just feel like
Okay.
if we try to talk about nationalism again, it's just gonna be the same. Oh, we need, it unites the people together, and then you're just gonna agree with me when I mention up times where it actually separates entire nations and causes divides. For example, the fact that every single fascist nation has inevitably led to the killing or suicide of its own leader. But whatever.
Alright. What's your next question for me?
What'd you say?
What's your next question? Do you have any questions for me?
What do you think about, what do you think about BLM?
I don't really like BLM.
Figures, yeah. Do you think the election was stolen?
It's a possibility.
But there's no evidence for it, but whatever.
I used to be very strong that it wasn't, but like I don't know, like why are so many companies like in social media is freely posting stuff against it? Like I thought that was kind of weird. There's just so many people that just jumped on that it didn't happen. Like literally, that's actually what changed my mind. I thought that was really weird.
Wait, can you repeat that? I didn't really hear I didn't really take in what she said.
Alright, so a lot of social media jumped on it immediately that it didn't happen. There was no election fraud. And I thought that was kind of weird. Like, I didn't believe it at all until I saw that.
Well, wait a minute. Usually social media reports the news.
Alright, if you go on YouTube or TikTok or anything, social media, you'll see a bunch of warnings that Biden won the election.
Yeah,
really
because
weird.
When there's mass hysteria about a particular election or any news coverage, to clarify your stance against a conspiracy theory would be very important for any media outlet. It's not really weird. Do I believe that there's Russian collusion? I'm not sure. Yeah. I think that there probably may be, because it's really hard because Trump has done his very best to conceal. Oh, wait a minute! Actually, a bunch of new shit was released ever since. Yeah, it's not even questionable that there was Russian collusion, but collusion really isn't a crime. So there's nothing that Trump could be fucked over there. But he still has a bunch of other shit. Did you want to vote for Trump?
Yes, I campaigned for him, but I believe he was the lesser of two evils.
What's so evil about Biden?
I don't know, I really don't like his policies.
Like what?
I liked the wall. That's something I really liked.
Okay.
And I think Biden's very pro-gun control.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I dislike about him, but other than that, I prefer him over Trump. The way that Trump just ignored the coronavirus was one of the biggest things. Letting so many Americans...
I agree.
Yeah, okay. I just... Okay. I know that you obviously have so many more differences than like agreements with me, but whenever I mention something that you know that is true, that I can just prove, you just go right to agree and you don't try to debate it, and I like that. Like I do like honesty, but at that point,
I mean, you admit if you're wrong.
I don't. I don't really see. You've already acknowledged that fascism is not brought about by logical conclusion, but only by emotion, which is fallacious within itself. So I'm just curious as to how you would justify fascism to someone like me, or to someone like, I don't know, a random person.
Homogenous cultures. That's my big thing. I love homogenous cultures, and I think I'm not racist. I swear.
Well, that is racist, though. If you want separatism between different groups of people, based off of the color of their skin, that is what racism is.
Not assimilation into our culture, and like.
Okay, so multiculturalism isn't a bad thing. It actually produces happier societies. There's this PBS article about it, that in the beginning, when cultures are introduced to each other, there is turmoil, but as time goes on, they actually have happier and healthier surroundings. Here, I'll find the article real quick. Shit, hold on. I'll just do it on my phone. I can't read that.
Yo.
You said you used to be a sort of a far-right, alt-right type guy, right?
I can't really find the article, like, right now, but here's a little tidbit of, I mean, just to show you that this isn't to prove, like, it's, like, multicultural societies are better, it's just to show that it's not shit. I don't really, there's just, I don't know, you're probably not gonna watch it, but...
Get it, dude. I'll bookmark it, dude. Like.
Also, yeah, when there's multiple cultures in an area, it does influence, more progressive change, because then people have to work together to come up with ideas to solve things like healthcare, climate change, and other and economic problems. There's a reason why we bring in so many other people from other countries that are experts in fields like, I don't know, environmental science and infrastructure. Without multiculturalism, we would be very far behind. We wouldn't even have math. You know, one of the reasons why conservatives hate Muslims so much is because they're bad at math, and Muslims created math.
Yeah. Damn Muslims, great algebra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're gonna try to justify homogeny and having an ethno or cultural state, with it's degenerate to not do it, then I can't really continue on that conversation, because I argue with logic and facts, not emotion.
Destroy liberals, facts, and this game. All right. What do you want to move on to?
I don't. Mish, do you have anything to say to this guy? I kind of already talked about him. You have any topics?
Well, there's a lot I'd like to go back over.
Sure.
Like, you seem to be saying about... Are you saying, like, back to the homosexuality, like, it's the culture of it that's the problem?
Yes.
Okay, so... I imagine that you're picking, specific things because of a group like that is a minority and is discriminated against. There's, they're like anytime LGBT race, you end up with increased poverty or increased encounters with the law, less more likely to engage in drugs and stuff like that. But this isn't because of homosexuality. It's because of them being discriminated against. You see what I mean?
I mean, like drugs. I believe like it's a culture that a lot of times recruits kids, and I know it's not all of them. I don't want to be one of those people, but it does have some very bad apples. I think it all
Recruits kids. How do they recruit kids?
grooming them through social media.
Wait, who's recruiting the kids?
The Jews.
Not the Jews.
I mean, that's the logical conclusion of your argument.
I hate to say the Rainbow Mafia. I don't know. Is there a less cringe title for it? No.
Why would they be interested in recruiting more?
Well, it's part of their agenda. I mean, it's strength in numbers.
What is their agenda? To like take over the world in gayness, or?
It's to avert the nuclear family.
The nuclear family, so like two parents and some children.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of, gay couples that want to raise kids. That's a nuclear family.
I mean, like, man.
And then, okay, let me ask you something. Do you think a kid is better off being raised at an orphanage or raised by two parents that care about them?
Well, obviously, two parents care about them.
Now, what if those two parents are gay? Do you think they're better off at the orphanage again?
I think straight parents are superior.
Why?
Well, it's been the foundation. I believe. Alright, I'll get some statistics pulled up. I believe children raised by LGBT have a higher level of depression and mental illness. I mean, humans are wired a certain way.
Is it possible that, if you see a statistic like that, you have to ask yourselves questions like this, Liz?
Yes, I got it from
What
multiple
if-
sources. I verified it.
No. That's not what I was going to say. You got to think about what numbers mean sometimes. So, like, for example, if you are want to check a particular group for who has the most depression, what you're really getting is who has like the most diagnosis of depression, or who says they have depression the most.
Right.
So there could be plenty of more conservative people who are not necessarily conservative, just any people who aren't they don't agree with the whole mental health thing, and so they might experience depression but never have a diagnosis or never have a thing to call it. And you see, a lot of times this stuff comes from surveys, and surveys are one of the least reliable types of data we can get, because you have to rely on self-reporting accuracy.
Okay.
So just pulling up some numbers and saying well, these people have a higher rate of depression, that doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. It means that, and again, two parents that are, say, homosexual, in a lot of cases in the United States, they have to go through a lot to adopt. It's not easy for them. It's not easy to adopt in general, and it's even harder for them. So the couples who succeed in that, maybe they're more likely to give their kid mental health or something. You see, because I'm just trying to show how you can't really tell these things from these types of studies, how people think they can.
Right. Alright, what about...
So,
Alright,
and I think the other thing too is there's just sort of there's been a cultural shift. It started a long time ago, probably in the 70s or 60s, I could be wrong. maybe later, maybe earlier, where we want children to embrace their individuality. You know, we, instead of like the old way where we sort of, did tough love or tried to push a kid and like rigorously to fit a certain type of person. Now we're more interested in letting them decide for themselves as a society. And so that's going to lead to like maybe what appears to you as people recruiting people into the gays, but really it's people saying it's okay if you have these feelings. It's okay if you are this way. Yeah, just accepting somebody like isn't necessarily recruiting. You see what I mean?
Well, like, alright. I know I hate antidotes as well. Let me tell you an antidote.
Well, an antidote is a cure to a poison, but an anecdote is what you're looking for.
Okay.
Alright, sorry. I cringed at this identified as gay.
Wait, say again?
I once identified as gay. I was on the internet a lot as a kid. It's more of just a trying to fit in thing, which I think
How old were you?
Oh, 12, 11. Jesus, young.
So, I mean, that's like an age of like,
Experimentation.
you're not, I wouldn't say so, no. I would say you don't have like,
Puberty.
yeah, have you even gone through puberty yet, do you think, at that time?
I think so.
I mean, it's such a young age. Like, I don't,
Right.
if you had feelings,
I don't know. I don't think I really understood it, but I think that's the type of thing that a lot of these children fall into.
well, do you ever have like feelings of same-sex attraction, or is it just like it's never happened since?
Not really.
What's not
Not
really?
really?
No, I don't. No.
Well,
Yeah,
no. Elaborate on the not really. Well, it's
I mean,
okay.
like, I look at the guy's ad, man, they got school on. I don't think that really counts.
I mean, I don't necessarily know if that counts too. It depends though. Like the thing is like, there's nothing wrong with thinking you're a certain way when you're young, and then growing up to think that you're not that way once you know more about yourself. The adolescent years are supposed to be a period of seeking your identity for what you're going to be as an adult. And it only makes sense that you would try some things out for a while and decide that that's not for you. And maybe it doesn't have to be like orientation or gender identity. It could be like what career path you want to do, what you want out of life, what your values are, like. So, I don't necessarily see a problem with a young person, especially like 11 to 13-year-old, thinking they're attracted to a certain demographic, and then later thinking that, oh wait, no, I was wrong, or no, I'm not. Do you think there's a problem with that?
So, it's okay to be homosexual, but like you have to keep in touch with masculinity, and you shouldn't delve deep into the culture.
That's not answering the question.
Alright.
I wanted to ask, what does masculinity mean to you? What do you think of when you think of someone who's masculine?
Muscular, honorable, brave, your typical like, soldier, You ever seen like? Have you ever seen I don't know, like a 1950s sitcom? It's bad. This is a bad example. Like the dad. That is.
Well, like Andy Griffith.
Yes, Andy Griffith.
So that's I mean, back then, there was no individuality, and it was only that way for like the upper class white people. Yeah, if you were like a Mexican or anything else, your experience is very different. and you didn't have the option to do a lot of stuff. Like, you were forced to be like a certain way. Like, everyone sort of dressed the same, and as there's no freedom of expression. What and what is it about that time that you think we don't have now? Because to tell you the truth, I would say the world we have now is much better. Like, back then, women couldn't even have bank accounts. Like, now, and back then, like, a third of the United States was illiterate, and now it's almost every citizen can read. The highest literacy rates in human history currently.
I like the values. Which is, I probably should elaborate more on that. Alright.
What values?
Family. That people want to start families back then.
Okay, but what about gay people that
I think-
want to start a family?
But they can't start a family. Right?
Yeah, they can adopt.
I think. Alright.
Straight couples can
Like-
adopt too. I mean, not every straight couple can have children. Like, women or men could have some
Right.
sort of.
Infertility, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Oh, check general. This is your idea of your average.
Ah, yeah, the perfect man.
Yeah. Unironically. Yeah.
You know, what I'm trying to get at is, like, I feel like the more threads I pull at this tapestry of your image of, like, masculinity and family and values, like, it just pulls away to, like, nothing that we still don't have today. Or, you know, like, I'm trying to boil down this to, like, essential characteristics that you think we've lost. Because I don't necessarily see that. You gotta help me understand.
Alright, another big thing I think is responsible for immorality. The decline of Christianity. Now, let me say this before. I'm not a Christian. I'm a Christaboo. I love Christianity and I think it strongly promotes the success of Europe and America.
Wait,
To, like,
I'm so sorry that I cut you off, but like, that's so
Yeah, but-
fucking hilarious. A Christaboo. A Christaboo. So,
Well, I think you just mean, like, that's a funny way of saying you like Judeo-Christian values, but you don't.
but you don't believe in, but you don't pray.
Hang on. Hey, wait. They got me moving back.
Oh shit.
Alright,
There we go.
I'm sorry, I accidentally clicked it.
So what I think you meant
No,
was that you like Judeo-Christian values. This is what Mitch said. But you don't pray. You don't believe in God.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think it's good for society. Although I don't believe in it, it promotes a good value system and a good philosophical frame.
but the crime rate has gone down, like, tremendously since those days.
And are you referring to the entire world, or? Wait, what do you mean? All right.
Well, I don't know about the entire world. I'm just talking about
In
the United
America.
States right now.
In America, yeah. Like, less violent crime, less rape, less murder. Hell, even less genocide.
In America,
Yeah, in
Right.
America.
like within the borders of America.
I mean, I can't even think of, like, off the top of my head, like, a group of gay guys just, like, fucking everything up. Just, like,
What?
committing a bunch of crimes.
The gay gang.
The gay,
What- what-
gang. Yeah.
What is it you see about the world that makes you come to these conclusions? Like, what, are you, are you gonna, one time I was talking to somebody with similar views, and they talked about, like, the declining testosterone.
Tell the story. You need to. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious, but the truth is like, that's because, like, being obese lowers, like, the serum testosterone levels, and that is what accounts for it, is the rise in obesity.
There was this guy that was gay, and you want to tell it?
the guy that said that he couldn't eat like fruits or vegetables because every time he did, it gave him homosexual urges.
Specifically apricots.
Yeah, apricots. Anyways, it seems, it looks to me like this, this past you want to return to just never really existed, or at least the way you think it did. Life was so much harder back then. People worked so much harder for so much less, and they suffered so much more, and they got to do so much less with their lives. I don't see anything glorious about that. You know, it's like the social all quiet on the Western Front in a way. There's nothing. So, you know, like a lot of times too, have you heard that, like, I'm not saying this is you, but some people think like war is a good thing because it's masculine. It gives people something to die for. But that quit being a thing once we invented machine guns, because there's nothing glorious about dying in mass in a trench in a field.
The whole honor of the dead, you know.
But I would say, like, it's the equivalent that we're talking about here.
Alright, well...
Actually, Mish, I think that made it worse because a bunch of men still line up to, like, join the military. And,
That's
like...
more due to poverty.
Well, it's, I mean, back in the day, though, like, it was just...
It was an honor thing, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's more of a poverty thing.
To be, like,
The attitude's definitely different.
Right, I mean, before you would have nobles fighting in the wars and all, but that's not like our thing.
But let me ask, do you want a nuclear family someday? Like, wife and kids, a house,
Yes,
all that?
I do.
There's nothing preventing you from doing that. There's still, like, women out there that want to be stay-at-home mothers and everything else.
There
like,
are?
Yes.
Where?
Everywhere.
Really?
Like, I know...
Not on
yes,
Discord.
Not on Discord, yeah.
On Discord, every
they're
girl...
more the Facebook type, I'm guessing.
Every girl has a dick, and every guy is racist. It's just...
Okay, that's Discord. Okay, look, the other thing, too, is the internet is not real life. If you stay, like you said yourself, like, you get on the internet, you get all these ideas. Like, a bunch of, like, the internet can give you this false idea of the majority opinion. But there are very much women who want, like, to have kids and take care of them at home. It's just now not every woman is forced to do that. It's something they do of their own volition. And in fact, if you find a wife like that today, that would be much better than finding a wife back then who would be forced into it. Don't you think?
Right.
So you have, like, a more fulfilling relationship.
Right. Where's
And also,
Tramway?
like, I had an ex-girlfriend that broke up with me because she wanted to be a traditional wife. She wanted to get married and have kids, and I didn't want that, so she, you know, found somebody who did, and they're happy.
Question. From an economic point of view, wouldn't it make sense to have both people in a both mother and father in a family working? It's much.
I mean, it's. I would say probably. I think it's better for a kid if there is one parent that stays at home, or even if they, like, switch back and forth. You know, like, dad works on the weekends, mom works during the week, something like that. Because I feel like a kid needs time with their parent, and that's harder to get these days.
Yeah, daycare fucking sucks.
Well, not only that, but the rise in costs and things.
Right.
And that's all stuff that, like... And you see, if you wanted to... I'm sorry.
You good? Sorry, you good.
So I was gonna say... I was saying that if you, now, if you wanted to say something like that is eroding away family values, the fact that, you know, we have, yeah, but that's because of financial, like, reasons and costs and, like, economics. It's not related to culture.
Right. But yeah, I do think there should be a stay-at-home parent, preferably the mother. I believe they're more psychologically inclined to that. I mean, women, there are fundamental differences between sexes in terms of mentality, for sure.
I think one perception that could be wrong. I feel like men have this enormous capacity to be loving and caring and compassionate, and we tend to stamp these qualities out of men from a young age and kind of emotionally blunt them. But I feel like children could benefit greatly from having male role models like that in their life at some point, no matter what their gender or orientation is.
Right, but
Like, there's nothing. The problem with thinking that like women are automatically more caring of children is that you end up, because that's not universally true. There's going to be men that are better at caring for children than some women, and that's why you see this discrepancy in like family courts. Like, the crack addicted mom gets the kids from like the freaking regular dad, and then what happens to the kids? There's a dangerous perception for children to assume that things have to be a certain way. Because they don't.
right. But alright, let me find some more statistics. Alright. Wait, alright. Let me
I'm really happy that you haven't dropped to 1350.
Well, the other thing too is like our criteria for how we define like mental illnesses has changed dramatically. Like people, like since you was talking about vaccines earlier, they say, look at as we got more vaccines, the rise in autism went up. How do you explain that? And you say, well, those two things aren't related, and we got better at detecting autism, therefore the diagnosis increased.
right. But I think mental health in a lot of ways is just a way for companies to make more money, medical providers.
Wait, I'm not even gonna speak. No, Miss, she got it.
Oh, alright, let me talk.
I am a medical provider.
Alright.
But yeah.
I think a lot of mental health is just normal characteristics. Like, for example, ADHD. I don't think that's a real thing. I mean, like name someone who doesn't have ADHD. You know what I mean?
No, here's what here's my take on that. I will say, like, on the one hand, yeah, I feel like we can say this condition might be overdiagnosed, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like, to me, that says, like, okay, maybe 20% of the diagnoses could be treated in different ways or have different diagnoses. That's the thing. So, like, when say, like, a drug company, like, the people that make Adderall want to make a bunch of money, so they pay off, like, you know, they increase, like, or they motivate their drugs to get prescribed more, and they motivate, so what they do is they don't say invent some shit out of thin air. They say, like, look, you could like fudge these things a little bit in this direction, and we could fudge things a little bit in that direction. And look, now they overlap again and qualify for this. But that doesn't mean like ADHD doesn't exist, or that some kids don't benefit from medications like Adderall when they do have ADHD.
Alright. I feel like, alright, but like that still makes them a lot of money. You know, big pharma is evil, I think.
The thing about research and development into pharmaceuticals, that's a very difficult process. It takes decades. It takes tons of investment, and a lot of times you end up with something you can't even sell. So it goes down the toilet. A lot of times the government has to provide motivations to even research and develop certain drugs for conditions that are kind of rarer. That's why the FDA came up with the Orphan Drug Act, which is where pretty much if there's a condition that only affects like a small percentage of the population, the government will step in and help the research and development for these pharmaceutical corporations along so that they have some incentive to do so. It's complicated. And there is a lot of things we could improve for sure. But just because like somebody funds something or something makes money doesn't automatically make that thing like super untrustworthy. I mean, and it also it depends, right? So if like a scientist comes up and says that cigarettes don't cause lung cancer, and you find out that that scientist's research was all paid for by Marlboro, you'll be like, But that's different than the government saying like, look, we'll make a deal with you, we'll let you keep the patent an extra 10 years if you come up with some extra cystic fibrosis treatment that holds up under scrutiny and double-blind studies and follows the gauntlet of medical research.
I also think, alright, this is a little tough. Like, I think mental health is an overly sort of romanticized thing. That's another big problem with it.
What do you mean when you say romanticized?
Kids want to be depressed for the quote-unquote clout or whatever. I mean,
clout from being depressed?
nowadays I think you do.
Gabe,
I mean, like,
where's
kids
my
brag-
clout?
I mean, kids brag about it. I mean, I've talked to my doctor. I mean, I have Asperger's syndrome. I don't know if that's really a thing anymore. I think they got phased it out. It's like I'm autistic. Like, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I can't say to like, so kids, you know, they're new in life in the world and their minds are sort of expanding in an unregulated way. Like, you know, kids bully each other over like crazy shit all the time. Like, the way that like kids are always gonna be into some strange shit.
Right.
Do you think? You know, I'm not gonna. I think that if somebody fakes a mental illness, that they do have a mental illness, just not maybe the one they're trying to fake.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Like, you ever heard of Munchausen syndrome? These people
it's
that are
like people like want attention to like they pretend to like be sick or like mothers
Yeah.
like make their kids sick or like get
that's
attention, so
Munchausen by
infect them.
processing. Yeah. That one's called Munchausen by proxy. Yeah, some messed up stuff. But, you know, I still think that these are like the minority cases here. And from my research when I was in school, it seemed like when it comes to like say depression, for example, the latest data we have says we should really start screening kids at age 11 for signs of depression. Because if you catch these like things early and you intervene like early, then you can really like limit like the severity and complexity of symptoms and treatments. I mean, this is all kind of idealized for the textbook, I'm sure, but it gets to this. I don't think that mental health is just sort of this thing that's made up. Now, maybe you actually don't have like Asperger or high functioning autism or whatever it is. Like, diagnoses of mental health are very difficult and they often change.
Right, like they've told me bunch of different things. You're probably
Yeah.
schizophrenic. You're probably bipolar. I mean, you get thousands in front of me. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, that's true because pretty much like I think some of that comes from, well, a few things. For one, it comes from the insurance really wants the doctors to have a concrete diagnosis and rationale because that's how insurance works. But also, um, if you have, let's say, like, you can't really make that accurate of a diagnosis without spending lots of time with the patient. And normally, when a patient comes to seek treatment, they need something, or they need some help or whatnot. So normally, the doctor will pick like a likely diagnosis and begin like a first line sort of lower risk type treatment for that. And as time goes on with the doctor, as they become more familiar with the patient, they will like adjust as needed. But you see, it's might be better to do it that way than to like just experience a patient for a year without necessarily giving them a direction, a diagnosis, or medication. You see what I mean?
I'm actually watching the stream. Just curiosity. Like, is anyone actually watching the stream? Hopefully, no, no one's watching. That's okay.
I'm not watching the stream. I'm just on Discord.
All right.
But okay, let me. If you want to wrap up, let me.
No,
I want
no,
to
no,
talk.
no, no, no. I'm good, man. It's a
All
weekend
right,
for
well,
me. I'm cool. Like,
I
if
wanted
you
to
want to wake
talk.
up, it's good. Like, feel good to bed.
Oh,
I don't
no.
want to keep you.
No, I'm all right. I just want to get back to that.
I'm enjoying this.
vaccine.
All right.
I think you should definitely get the vaccine as soon as you have the chance. There are some side effects to it for some people. They're very mild. Me personally, when I had the vaccine, I had some side effects for both shots, but I just took a single Tylenol pill and I got rid of all the side effects, and they never lasted more than a day, like the day of the shot.
But like,
It, go ahead.
but like I don't know. Like, there's a lot of theories, and I'm kind of a little worried, hesitant. Like, and also I'm young, of course, to kind of really get the virus. Or not. Like,
Yeah, you could. Well, it's not only a matter of if you could. You could catch the virus and have no symptoms, spread it to people who could die from it. Or you could
Right.
catch the virus, develop severe symptoms, and die from it yourself. Like, it's just. The odds of you catching coronavirus and dying are, like, much more likely by, like, thousands of times statistically than from you having some severe, terrible reaction to the vaccine.
right. I mean, I've already had the virus, so.
So when you have the virus, the immunity from that doesn't necessarily last very long. It's like when you have a cold, like you might not get another cold for a while, but you're not protected from colds forever, or the flu or whatnot. Like the way that certain immune reactions form, it's a bit different. So with coronavirus specifically, for example, our immune system has trouble with it. So, the way that it actually kills people is that the immune system sort of overreacts to it. And it's like a cough, you know, but then the immune system freaks out and it starts like sending in all these cells to deal with it. And it sends in like more than it would normally. And then also, the virus is good at defeating those cells, so you end up with a lot of like fluid in the lungs, which then gets infected with like average bacteria and becomes a deadly pneumonia that requires ventilation. You ever heard people say like, he didn't die of coronavirus, he died of pneumonia? That's pretty much like saying he didn't die from getting shot, he died of bleeding to death.
Right.
Yeah. But what theories like do you have? or concerns?
I mean, if the microchips, they're actually. So if you get the vaccine, you actually become a CPU processing power for the Jewish space laser. Didn't know if you knew that or not. Just
Yeah, but you get great benefits.
yeah,
You
I
know, I
guess.
mean, don't you want to be part of the space laser? No. But so, what concerns do you have? Like, real quick, if anyone wants to know, like, this information is not hard to find. It's all centralized on the CDC website.
Hold up.
No, it's fine.
I thought I got disconnected there for a second.
Have you read the CDC's information? CDC.gov.
But like, can we really trust the government? I
So,
mean,
why the government is like, that's so broad of a thing, and especially like the CDC is one of the most successful health and science research institutions in human history, you know, along with like the World Health Organization. It's thanks to the CDC like that we've prevented so many outbreaks and so many diseases and things. Like, I don't see. Now, I mean, we're all human, right? And organizations make mistakes and they come out with a regulation that maybe did more harm than good. But all in all, I think like the CDC is about as good as it gets as far as government. But like, what specifically?
not that have microchips. Like, I asked the question.
So microchips really can't exist like that right now. And if, to be honest, don't you think if the government wanted to microchip you, they would just like tap into your fucking smartphone? That would be way easier for them. They probably already do it. That's why you're gonna get ads tomorrow for Jewish space lasers.
I use VPN in the Tor browser.
I think you missed what he said. He said Jewish
But, like,
space lasers.
Yeah, man. Jewish space lasers. You don't know about it, man?
I know who
yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is.
Yeah,
Yes, you
she's
do.
the crazy chick.
But no, dude, there's microchips. That's not a thing. So, for one, like the lumen of the needle on a syringe, like there's no way you could put in like a chip that broadcasts and receives information. Like that's just, we don't have those yet. Not even close. So, but for real though, what other concerns do you have? Well, a common one I hear people say is, "Look how fast we got it made compared to every other vaccine. Other vaccines
Right, but
took
we had
decades."
scientists working on it around the clock, right?
Yeah, not only that, we had what's called concurrent development. So normally, the way we develop vaccines in the past is like, okay, you do part A of this process, and after you're done with part A and we've vetted it, then you'll go on to part B, and then after that's done, we'll go on to part C. But with the coronavirus, we started A, B, and C all at the same time. You see what I mean? We had it going concurrently, and not only that, but we're not totally unfamiliar with coronavirus. I mean, it is, the SARS outbreak was also a coronavirus. The research into the mRNA type vaccines began in 1993 in general. So it's, now, whether or not this becomes a thing that we might find out that we need to get the vaccine again, like maybe every couple of years or something. We don't know that yet. But then it would be like the flu shot. And I would
What
say
about-
some. Oh, go ahead.
You got. What about infertility?
There's no evidence to support that I'm aware of. Not even close. Infertility. There's... Why? What? Have you seen evidence of the vaccine causing
I kind of
infertility?
heard about it. Like, I don't believe it was.
No, there's not a single person in the world has had infertility caused by the vaccine. The worst thing that's happened so far is that 2 people died from a very specific type of blood clot, and that was from the vaccine. We're talking about 2 people in millions and millions of things. And now that we know that this is a possibility, we know to look for it. Like, the only reason they died from that is because we didn't know to look for it. But now we do. And it's, and this type of blood clot, just so you know, like, so many medications, have much greater blood clot risks, but we take them all the time. Like women in birth control medication, for example, is something like 60 times more likely to cause a blood clot than the coronavirus vaccine. And then also there's like lots of other contributing factors that go into the formation of the blood clot, such as like cigarette smoking. That'll like fucking it's. But if you objectively look at all the data, getting the vaccine is the best thing to do right now. I mean, you might not be as a high risk yourself, but you could definitely catch it, be asymptomatic, and spread it to people who then would go on to die from it.
Can you get it twice?
Yes, you definitely can get it twice.
Are they like kind of really rare though?
No, it just takes a certain amount of time. The immunity you get from having coronavirus is only a couple months. So after like 3 or 4 months from having coronavirus, you can catch it again.
Well, didn't Florida have a very low COVID rate? Why? What do you think is responsible for Florida's low COVID rate?
Wait, hold on. Miami had like a huge outbreak very recently, so it's not really
What?
low.
Do you have any other concerns about the vaccine first?
Let's see. I heard somewhere about the magnet, like magnets are sticking to it. Like, that kind of sounds crazy. But
No.
what's that about?
That's just total internet stuff. There's nothing. You know what? I want to show you a YouTube channel. It's called Potholer54. Look into him sometime. He's an ex-science journalist, and he like debunks conspiracies. And like the last year, he's done all coronavirus ones. Not necessarily that he'll do like specific ones you've heard of, but you can kind of get an idea of how these things form, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, oh yeah, so to summarize, like, definitely get the vaccine. If you love your country, if you want America to be proud and strong, you should help them not die off from this disease.
Right. And also it keeps the elders alive, which is very important to me.
Yes, absolutely.
They vote Republican, I was kidding. They vote Republican, that's why they matter to us. But, I don't know, they play important.
They always have.
I'm gonna end the stream, but this could go on. Yeah, I think we've got like I'm not gonna end.